Aloha, y'all. It is Wednesday, ruled by Mercury, Wednesday, the 17th of September, according to Dream Spell, which is a Mayan kind of situation, modern Mayan situation. It is a throat chakra day, yellow electric cumin, guided by intelligence. So, if you're going to be doing meditations with chakras, which I highly suggest, Vishuddha is what it is. Doing all of them is advisable, but the Vishuddha chakra, doing the mantras, doing the mudras for Vishuddha would be like that, I believe, etc. So let's go ahead and pull some cards for today. The sun is in Virgo, the moon is in Virgo. They are conjunct, a couple degrees off, like I think 2 degrees or so. Well, I could tell you, sun is at 25, basically 26 right now, 25 and 9 minutes, Virgo, and 27 is the moon. So 2 degree conjunction. A lot of earth energy right now, right? A lot of energy that is grounding and health oriented. We have the new moon in Virgo just occurred. That has to do with health and healing ultimately, and planting seeds of healing. And I know I'm going through it. I'm having to kind of shed elements of my past coping mechanisms and selfhood, etc. So today we've got the Five of Wands. Wands are about, wands are fire. So if you're an Aries, a Leo, or a Sagittarius, you naturally resonate and have a proclivity towards wand energy, one could say. Five of Wands is saying competitive nature, locked in a battle of wits, and keeping a rigid structure, testing your ideas out. The Five of Wands, I am alert and sharp to all challenges and conflicts. In the Tarot, fives typically represent conflict or disharmony. The dire earthbound situation in the Five of Pentacles, the watery misery of the Five of Cups, and the tragic atmospheric conflict of the Five of Swords. At first glance, it would seem we are witnessing another tale of destruction with the dramatic conflagration of fighters presented in the Five of Wands. However, we could see no blood, no injuries or death, despite the fiery wands flying like lightsabers in all directions. The theatrical, over-exaggerated gestures and the strange carnivalesque masks invite us to take a closer look at the action. Tremendous leaps, kicks, and punches, wands thrown as light javelins, demonstrate immense physical prowess, athleticism, and skill, a youthful bravado, even celebratory, a display of potential lethality. Ritualized enactments of conflict, mainly between young men, exist in many cultures around the world. For example, on the island of Lombok, Indonesia, armed with long rattan sticks and rectangular light wooden shields, the fighters attack each other under the watchful eye of a referee, accompanied by a metallic timbre of traditional gamelan music. Using a multitude of elaborate gesticulations, often theatrical and comical, they lash out at their opponents with wide-eyed ferocity. As well as its historic association and popularity at ceremonies, the stick fight, named Parisian, also served to ask God for rain for the imminent season of planting. Empowering an ancient belief that the more blood was spilled, the more rain would follow. The use of ritualized forms of antagonistic behavior, or tests of strength, allows for the integration of our natural aggression. We are introduced to some of the harsh realities of life, the battle and struggle for limited resources, or the fierce competition for procreation. Moreover, Mother Nature is appeased by the bloodshed and restitution for man's dishonor, disrespect, and neglect of her. Balance is restored. The gift of blood, thanking her for her bounteous energy and generosity in supporting the village's lives. So, too, in the animal kingdom, the strutting, the striking, and the biting, the flashing of ridiculously grand plumes, horns, or claws, allow the battle of dominance to take place as a staged display. Unlike humans, actual physical fighting to the blood within the same species is rare because the evolutionary cost is simply too high. The Five of Wands invites you to consider where you can test your ideas and your mental, and physical skills in an arena of goodwill and healthy competition. The ultra-competitive, technologically advanced world we live in, it also requires we test and hone our skills before venturing into real-world business ventures or situations where the risk of losing is potentially costly. It is vital to first test our skills in the simulation environments that allow us to learn, grow, and perfect our game. This is an integral part of problem solving. Remaining calm and being adaptive in a volatile and unpredictable market and niches. There is great power in ritual, in acknowledging the fragile balance of life and so honoring your own life and those of your future sparring partners, your competitors, who will make you stronger. So the Five of Wands is about competitive nature, locked in a battle of wits, keeping a rigid structure, and testing your ideas out. I definitely feel this personally. I've been trying to debate with myself and others all morning about what's acceptable behavior, what's not, what do I want, what is my shadow, all this kind of stuff. And with, like I said, the new moon in Virgo, we're really kind of getting into a place of health for ourselves and our relationships and the world at large, as within, so without, as above, so below, but also kind of having the sniffing salts. Virgo can be very sniffing saltish, where it's like, hey, snap out of it. Mercury rules Virgo, and it can be very communicative in a grounding way, where it's like, get out of the daydreams, get practical and embodied, right? That kind of energy. We've actually got masculine / feminine as the card. So this is like the battle of the sexes in a sense, right? Let me figure out where this is. I think it's the 11 of fire. Yep, 256. There's a lot of pages in this book. Small novella. 11 of fire is masculine / feminine. Keywords: passive / aggressive. Talk about passive and aggressive. It's like on guard. This is it. This is the dojo, right, in the Matrix, where people are like, let's test our skills. And, Morpheus versus Neo. It's like Morpheus fighting Neo. Oh my God, let's go check it out. And they're doing it in a playful way, essentially to sharpen their skills, hone their skills, and to know and define their weaknesses and strengths. So passive and aggressive, creation and destructive, action, inaction, masculine and feminine. Key phrases: put aside gender stereotypes. We are both masculine and feminine. Masculine energy serves to protect. Feminine energy serves to nurture. Too much of one, not enough of the other? ? Time to evaluate and realign. Allow the energy to increase and ebb. So ebbing and flowing, right? The yin and yang there. And embracing the energy that best suits your needs. Meaning, the 11 of fire is a balancing and realignment card. It symbolizes the importance of balancing our masculine and feminine energies and to remind us we are, and always will be, a mix of both. Our physical gender is irrelevant. The 11 of fire asks that we look beyond the gender stereotypes to how we respond and react to day-to-day experiences. On an energetic level, our masculine aspect serves to protect self and others, while our feminine aspect serves to nurture self and others. In a simplistic society, a typical male will embody a more masculine energy than feminine. They are characteristically more aggressive and forceful, but also very protective of those they feel are in need of protection. However, they are more apt to use physical force and aggression to protect. Yeah. A typical female, however, will embody more feminine energy than masculine. They are characteristically more passive and yielding, while possessing the same desire to protect the vulnerable. They will generally use diplomacy and dialogue in order to determine an option that avoids conflict. Gender stereotypes are often one-dimensional and rarely accurate, especially when we are discussing masculine and feminine energy as opposed to man and woman. It can become even more problematic to assign specific attributes to either gender when there are many men who identify as female and women who identify as male. When it comes to masculine and feminine energy, we all have both, regardless of our physical gender or the gender we have assigned ourselves, and this energy is expressed in how we behave and act. It influences all that we do. Masculine energy is active, impatient, assertive, creative, aggressive, forceful, protective, logical, analytical, and controlling. Feminine energy is inactive, calm, retiring, receptive, passive, yielding, nurturing, emotional, intuitive, and allowing. Masculine energy motivates us to focus upon our personal needs and self, while feminine energy motivates us to think of others and their needs. Again, regardless of gender, a person who is energetic and proactive is embracing a masculine energy, while a person who is calm and passive is embracing a feminine energy. Neither is intrinsically good or bad, but if an imbalance is present, it can be evident in our actions and give rise to destructive behavior. An imbalance can occur when we have too much of one and not enough of the other all of the time. Too much of one without enough influence from the other can create a very discordant and destructive mix. But what is the right mix? This is not about having equal parts of both. So it's not about total equality. It's about equanimity. It's about synergy, right? Complementarianism is what the word is in political terms. But what is the right mix? This is not about having exactly equal parts of both, but about having a harmonious blending that is suited to your lifestyle and personal goals and needs. If you are not assertive enough, you may need to embrace more masculine energy. If you are overly assertive to the point where others are always intimidated by you, then consider embracing a little more feminine energy and soften your approach. An aggressive approach or method is sometimes required in order to break from the old and make way for the new, but aggressive methods don't always have to be violent. To be forceful is not always indicative of physical force being used. Masculine and feminine energy should be allowed to flow and ebb as it is needed. Like fire, flickering and dancing, you add less fuel if you want things to cool, and more fuel if you want things to heat up. Enough heat gives rise to creative, productive energy, but too much heat can burn both you and others out. Cooling things a little gives rise to a nurturing warmth, but too little fuel on the fire could go out completely. The 11 of fire symbolizes an opportunity to take a moment to evaluate your life and ask yourself whether you need to embrace a little more masculine or feminine energy in your day-to-day activities and relationships. Do you need to step up and be a little more assertive or proactive? Does something or someone need your protection? Are you not nurturing yourself or others enough? Once again, nurturance and duty out of health. We're looking for balanced, healthy obligations. This is Sun and Moon Virgo, New Moon in Virgo. Does someone or something need your protection? Are you not nurturing yourself or others enough? Are you being overly analytical instead of heeding your intuition? Are you allowing impatience to get the better of you when your situation calls for calm and compromise? Are you choosing a path of inaction when you need to embrace one of action in order to manifest the changes you need? Pause for a moment, evaluate, and bring your masculine and feminine energies back into a harmonious alignment within your life and your needs. So, and it's even, I think, important to denote, it's not about exact equality. It's like, it's a blend, and everybody's own alchemy is going to look a little differently. So we can't proselytize a certain position and be like, this guy has a position and he could say this works for me, but this guy's up here and doing this shit and that works for him. And they're taking, passive and aggressive roles, right? He's more on defense, waiting for the attack. It's like Neo when he's like that. And this guy's more like, Neo in the air, or Morpheus or whatever in the air, doing the kung fu shit. So everybody's kung fu fighting between their masculine and feminine, and coming into that equilibrium is the most healthy thing we can do for ourselves and others. That's ultimately what this new moon in Virgo is telling us, where it's just like, yo, sniffing salts, are you doing what you need to be doing practically? Are you embodying an alchemy that's appropriate for you? And only you can answer that. You could always hit me up for a reading if you want, because in going over your chart, your natal chart, your astrology chart, we can look at what your kind of chemistry is, and we can discuss, for example, I have Mars and Mercury conjunct in the 12th house in Cancer. So that's a very feminine approach to my action, right? It's Pisces, which is feminine, 12th house, very collective, and then Cancer, which is receptive and nurturing. So I need to actually add a little more tenacity and fire and assertion to my reality, as opposed to like even doing these YouTube videos now. That's an assertion that I was unwilling to do for a long time. Whereas some people are just like, it's like, yo, take a chill pill, live and let live, be still and know. And those different magics, those different alchemy kind of protocols are going to vary depending on your chart. So that's why I'm saying hit me up for a reading if you want. I've only got 5-star reviews. Everyone loves it. Their lives are changed, and I love doing them. But also, so know thyself, but at the same time, knowing the situation. Sometimes, a mother bear is pretty chill most of the time, and then if it feels like the child or, the baby bear is threatened, it freaks the fuck out, right? Hence the cliche of the mother bear. We've got the number 1 card in the Galactic Heritage card. This is Beyond Wisdom. So this is the true, as they say. Get ready, kids, because this one's an important one. It's the root of the whole deck. Founders, Beyond Wisdom, Parallel Timeline. The founders represent the abiding awareness, the one consciousness that spans time and space. This consciousness is aware of its simultaneous existence as both the whole and its, quote, separate parts. It created an illusion of fragmentation so that we could have individual lifetimes, but its wholeness still abides and is ultimately the consciousness that sees through the eyes of every living soul. This is your true self. Some call it God. Because this card points to your true nature, it is the most powerful card of this deck. Really good for a new moon energy, right? Remember, to quote Air, it cuts through illusion and moves beyond wisdom. It is you. Remember. It says remember. I was gonna get a tattoo of the like a kanji or something, a script from another language, in Japanese or something that says "remember," just to remind myself, even on my wrist maybe. It was like, remember what? And that gets you into mindfulness. But that's just an idea I've had before. Commentary: because humans appear to exist in a linear, separate reality, we cannot have a card that truly embodies the energy of the complete wholeness and have the human mind be able to perceive this truth. If it were to be represented in this deck, it would have to be the card number 0. This card, number 1, holds the energy of our initial fragmentation from the source. This first fragmentation, looking at it from a linear perspective, created many subgroups of wise beings, manifesting as group consciousness systems, who act as the architects of our journey through polarity and back into wholeness. They maintain the memory of being whole and separate at the same time and guide us through this journey. They are a manifestation of the great hologram of creation that contains all things and potentials. This is why the theme is beyond wisdom. What they offer us has little to do with intellectual knowledge or even what is called, quote, wisdom. They represent us in our integrated state and help us maintain the memory of our true state of existence as one being throughout all creation, manifesting as both separate and unified simultaneously. The consciousness Germain, who channeled this card system to Lisa Royal Holt, represents this group consciousness. If this card appears in your spread, it is a reminder of your true nature and a suggestion to never get distracted by the chaos or intensity of physical existence. The chaos of your polarities inside and externalized, right? The chaos of the fray, the pageantry of being, one could say. Don't get distracted by the chaos of intensity or physical existence itself. Embodiment can be a weird trip. Let yourself feel the connection with the source in a way that goes beyond intellect, beyond the mind. As this connection grows stronger within you, it can serve as a guiding force in your life. Trust that connection. And service, which is what it's saying, this will serve you, is what Virgo is all about. So with the sun and the moon in Virgo conjunct, this is about how can you best service yourself and service others. Remember, it's the one abiding consciousness experiencing it through all things. It's like, yeah, it might look like a passion play of individuals, but this is a game. It might look like individuals on a tapestry, and like that line is very different than like this void space or whatever, but it's one art piece, it's one tapestry, right? So let's get an animal oracle card. Hopefully you all are doing well. I'd love to know where you're watching from. And maybe like a little tidbit about you, your astrology info, or I don't know, your life mantra or something weird like that. Leave it in the comments. Always interesting to see how we mingle in the play of life, right? Number nine, this is about release. And I can sense that being very strong in my life right now, having to release and submit. This is the Jaguar. Release what you no longer need, right? In some way, like we're experiencing the wholeness and the unity, so it's all good. But maybe this guy has been sitting in this position for so long that he needs to make an attack move. And maybe this guy's just been attacking. He has to chill out. Maybe there's an element of either aggression or passivity that you need to release in order for new elements to come into play, right? That's why, in a sense, like even pawns can go like 1 or 2, right? You can even on a chessboard, there's multiplicities of kind of options, and releasing maybe a tried and true method after a point. There's a wisdom in continuing and being persistent, but then persistence past a point is just like, are you experiencing more than that? Release what you no longer need. Take action to move something from the ideas world into the physical world. That's so Virgo, taking Mercury, the ideas, and grounding them from the mind into the world. Let go of the old and stale and choose renewal. Wash away the negative aspects of the past. Surrender it all and embrace the new. I need to hear this personally, and as my fiance will testify to. And this is on page 42. Life, the meaning, the universe, everything. Mythos. Ixchel, the fierce jaguar goddess of the ancient Mayan culture, was the goddess of midwifery, fertility, earth, rain, and the sacred sweat bath. Widely honored, her cult extended at one time as far as the islands off the east coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. It was she who women turned to at the time of birthing. At birthing time, the woman was oiled and flowers put into her hair. The sweat bath, solid and womb-shaped, was prepared and the rainwater barrels gathered ready for the purging steam. Prayers to Ixchel in her jaguar form were offered. The woman would enter the sweat bath for some days until her labor began. She heard songs of her ancestors, songs of the tribe, of the gods, and especially of Ixchel. It was she who granted and would aid the birth. Stories were told to fill the spirit of the woman's baby and make it strong and healthy. We were reading the Gene Keys. My fiance and I every morning read a Gene Key. And it was talking about how what your mother does from basically inception, even in utero, has a very big impact. So even this process has relevance and truth to it, we'll say. It's not just superstition. She would begin her labor and sweat for the release. She would then leave the sweat bath and give birth outside. Offerings were made to the jaguar goddess to celebrate the birth. Then the mother would re-enter the steam bath to purge herself of the afterbirth and any of the toxins in her body. Purging and cleansing and health and all these rituals, so Virgo, embodiment rituals, right? She would leave the sweat bath a mother, no longer a maiden, one day to become a grandmother. The animal. If there is one word you can use to describe this particular member of the genus Panthera, it is powerful. Jaguars are built powerfully, emphasizing their strength right down to the bones. They are stocky and low-slung with robust legs that can leap on and crush their prey. They are adept at swimming and can crawl silently through the jungle. Their jaws are particularly well developed, and a comparative bite force study shows that they possess the greatest force above clouded leopards, tigers, and lions. Oh my. This enables them to literally pulverize the biggest bones of their prey, like bone crushing. Jaguars are typically spotted, but come in a melanistic variation of black panther. These particular panthers are only found in South America, whereas the pattern-coated jaguars are found right across Central and North America, Mexico, and South America, including the Amazon. African and Asian panthers are called leopards. Da-da-da-da. The more you know. The jaguar is the apex predator in most of its habitat, yet is threatened by habitat loss and killing by humans. The magic. Call upon the releasing powers of the jaguar woman Ixchel when you are ready to let go of something. Whether it is an excess of something, a bad habit, a disease, or old patterns, Ixchel is a powerful discharging force. For those who are getting ready for birth, she is a wise guide and will assist you to have an easier birth. Symbology is a sweat bath, upturned water jug, woman with the jaguar ears, and steam. The status of jaguars is threatened. This is really timely considering we're having a new moon in Virgo, where it's what? About birthing. New moons are about birth, inception, right? Planting the seed, and then full moon is about like harvest, you could say like that. So we're planting new ideas. What in this new cycle are we trying to not bring into this next cycle, right? And that's a good way to live at any time, in any moment. You want to kind of, we had a podcast yesterday, and ironically, we're having actually a Mayan Dream Spell podcast today, one of the podcasts, so Mayan coming up resonant there. Yesterday in a podcast, we were talking about life and kind of the ability to not be attached to the past or the future, and how it's kind of like, in film, it's moving celluloid frames, and what we have to be doing is taking each moment as a frame and reframing ourselves and not trying to like attach the past and see. I mean, there is a whole movie going on, but at some level, when you edit or, like in the Fight Club thing with like the little blip, that's a single frame that has that effect. So we can make big impacts on ourselves as if we live in that kind of now state. And with the release coming up, it's like, what are we bringing from old frames into the present frame that are no longer needed? What's the bleed over, right? We've got Artemisia gentileschi. So, interesting, as this kind of does correspond very much to masculine and feminine, because she was, as we'll see, one of the first females to kind of get into it's a man's world of art, in a sense. So you'll see what I mean. Un momento. She's Italian. Artemisia gentileschi put a crack in the Baroque ceiling by painting one in collaboration with her artist father. Though denied important artistic education and experience on account of being female, she still pursued figure painting, inspired by the works of family friend, ! Caravaggio. Her dramatic, sometimes violent works saw immediate recognition, but were then neglected until 1970s feminists stepped in. As a teenager, Gentileschi took her art instructor to trial in a high-profile rape case. She won, but not without going through hell. Some read her biography into her subsequent paintings, which often depict biblical heroines kicking ass and taking heads. Like I said, kind of playing. She was playing her. She wasn't just getting raped and be silent about it, right? She stepped into an assertive form of femininity, a very powerful level, right? She was combative, one could say. She stood her ground, right? And stood her ground creatively. Just because she was a chick doesn't mean she wasn't going to be heard or seen. So, props to her, Artemisia. And the advice we're getting for her is use your talent like a weapon. Y'all, the wands, in this case, is a weapon. It's this lightsaber battle, right? We can use our creativity essentially as a weapon, but we need to be maybe not committing to the pageantry. It's like WWF wrestling or whatever, it's like it's a pageant. Or in soccer, when someone like kind of goes flip flops around and says, "Oh my gosh, throw a red card." It's like there's a pageantry. Don't commit to the story so much that you forget that everything you witness is you, right? You want to kind of release your ego in a sense, right? And kind of play the roles and play fluidly, right? This is a fluid yin yang. It's masculine and feminine kind of going in this eternal balance. And this dragon, never-ending story. We find ourselves. So make sure you're having fun in this story, but not committing so much that like if you lose, you like go burn down the house of your enemy, quote unquote, or whatever. It's you're hurting. So we want to release like competition and pageantry and all that stuff has its place, right? Use your talent like a weapon. Use your individuality, which is ultimately an illusion because the Beyond Wisdom card is saying we're all one, and to remember that, use your individuality succinctly for what you want to be doing, however your chemistry looks, right? Masculine, feminine, and the balance within yourself and your environment of what that looks like. But release maybe your ego attachment ultimately to what this is. Hold on loosely because we don't want to take it so seriously. That's part of the reason we have war and all the issues we have is because people take the fucking video game so seriously that they commit and they're just like, oh my God, I got to take this so seriously. Use your talent like a weapon. So she was using her skill art as a weapon against what? Patriarchy, rape, right? Stuff like that. So she was doing the thing that we're all kind of being called to do, which is stepping fully into our power, which looks different for everybody, but doing it gracefully as well as with style. So let's get a crystal card. Whoa. Let's see what wants to pop. We've got labradorite. You don't have to actually own labradorite. You can quantumly entangle, thank God, with everything, as within, so without, and we're all holographically connected. So if you just look upon this and gaze upon this crystal, stone, deck, card, the labradorite, you will understand, and this is so synchronistic, I'm seeing what the bottom means. You basically, you don't have to own this. You can just sync up with it, right? Though I do own some labradorite. Labradorite. What it is? Labradorite is a feldspar mineral first discovered in Canada's frozen north. The stone seems to hold the light of the aurora borealis just beneath its surface. This slightly psychedelic, iridescent dance is known quite appropriately as labradorescence. Who needs it? Adventurers exploring far-off lands, places alchemical, spiritual, artistic, and dreamy. Any Pisces. Where to put it? Wherever you cast your spells. And I'm imagining people have been doing a lot of magic with the new moon, so tap into this. When to use it? When you've lost your faith in magic. The world is a weird, wonderful, whimsical, watery rock hurtling through space, and you're on it, and that makes you special. Gaze into labradorite, and delight in that. And this says protect your magic. Oh, you mean like so? Right? These guys are protecting their magic. The wand is the magic stick. They got the magic stick. This is them playing a game of protection of magic. You can look at this as like Hogwarts schools battling, or Jedi, battling for the Sith or Jedi shit, which ultimately is an extemporaneous or expression and an extension rather of the masculine feminine kind of polarity game, if you want to put it that way. We have to remember that it's all a game where one thing experiencing itself through a multiplicity, and we have to release our attachments to both our identities in a way and proclivities, and we have to hold on loosely, as well as the stories and the action in the stories that we tell ourselves. But at the same time, paradoxically, do protect your magic, right? Do create boundaries. Do stand up for yourself, like Artemisia did with the rape case, and as a woman in a culture that didn't even respect or honor women who had creative talents, she protected her magic, right? She used her talent like a weapon, and that's what she's telling us to do. Use your talent like a weapon, protect your magic. And with the sun and moon in Virgo, with Mercury in Libra, we're able to be balanced and efficacious in our communication, in our health, in our embodiment. It's going from the mind into the body, and how are we embodying the magic and the wonder of life without being overwhelmed by it, without projecting fear into it. Certainty is an illusion, but we can kind of confidently, boldly hope and believe and trust, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Trust in the process, trust in the journey, trust in the fact that we've chosen to become embodied, and trust in ourselves and others. When we have that kind of trust and love, real magic happens, right? That's for the health of all. I'm going to actually play a song instead of jamming. I kind of go between them both sometimes, and today I felt like playing a song. This is a Beatles song. John Lennon, who's a Libra, sang it, and I've heard a really good version by Fiona Apple, actually. So if you want to check out that cover, it's well worth it. But this is called Across the Universe. So, all right, cool. I mean, I don't know it, so here we go. Hopefully it works. Of course, I gotta scroll faster than that, boy. Here we go. Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. They slither wildly as they slip away across the universe. Pools of sorrow, waves of joy are drifting through my open mind, possessing and caressing me. Jai Guru Deva Om. Nothing's gonna change my world. 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 Images of broken light which dance before me like a million eyes. They call me on and on across the universe. Thoughts meander like a restless wind inside a letterbox. They tumble blindly as they make their way across the universe. Jai Guru Deva Om. Nothing's gonna change my world. 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 Sounds of laughter, shades of life all ringing through my opened ears, inciting and inviting me. Limitless, undying love which shines around me like a million suns, calls me on and on across the universe. Jai Guru Deva Om. Nothing's gonna change my world. 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 Jai Guru Deva. Jai Guru Deva. Jai Guru Deva. Or something. Ooh. So yeah, that's a John Lennon song with the Beatles, but of course, And what we really have to be doing, I mean, it's saying, oh, I see everything through the million eyes. This is how, all these psychedelic ways of looking. It's like, wow, beyond wisdom, I'm the one thing experiencing itself. Uda lali, right? And it's a privilege. We've embarked on this. We've chosen to become what? Embodied in a pageantry, if you want to put it that way, of action and passion, this passion play of being. What a weird trip it is it not? I know we're all having fun on it, but it can be a little harrowing when somebody takes this, role very seriously and starts beating the fuck out of other people. Whoopsie doodles, right? Let's play well together on the playground of life. You're going to have different calibrations for what it means to you, your stats as your RPG character. They're going to look different, it's okay. There's not a democratized way. The only one truth that binds us is that we're all one in what aspect? In individual embodiment. Like we have the one thing shining through us, like a million, looking through a million eyes, or whatever the lyric was in there. There were some very resonant lyrics in there. Try to figure out your calibration. Know that it's fluid. It's not like you stay here and, like Mr. Von Trapp, what Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music, very rigid, very austere, very authoritarian, very masculine. He had a fucking whistle blow for each of his kids, like a dog whistle that they would code, come down and know they're like, do all their shit. If you've seen The Sound of Music, he had to move into a feminine place, right? Through compassion and empathy and knowing that each child had value and import. That was his journey. That was different than maybe Fräulein Maria, who was this free, wafy spirit who kind of Piscean plays the guitar and sings in the fields or what, all this kind of stuff. And she had to learn how to be a stepmom, basically, and sew clothes and teach in a very, here's what the truth is. Or, hey, we're going to do puppets and make the puppets and show people and be very assertive, right? And not just this fart in the wind kind of whimsical daydream. She didn't lose her femininity. She came to a balance point, right? That's the whole... Everybody's doing this. It's all good. That's the story we're finding with ourselves. What we want to not be doing is committing so much to our alchemy and our process that we're attacking others for what they are. That's the weird trip. We have to go and move into beyond wisdom, right? Go into this place of it's all good. This polarity battle is real. Like there's differentiation between masculine and feminine poles, but there's an integration and a bleed and a dynamos, right, within that too. So enjoy the dream, folks. It's a dream of polarity that we've embarked on, but try to release, try to hold on loosely, right? The release is like, don't grip, like hold on, but hold on loosely to the dream. Protect your magic, as Labradorite will tell us, right? But also, so protect your magic, be like have boundaries and reserve and not just always be in attack mode. But at the same time, it says use your talent like a weapon. It's a both and. It's not either or, right? Use your talent like a weapon. This guy's like, I got an idea. And this guy's like, I'm going to be receptive. And they play the dance. And that's what life is, this polarity dance. You got to step beyond it and go to the unity, right? Protect your magic with labradorite. And even, I'm not sure. I should probably Google it really quick. Jai Guru Deva. What does that mean, right? This will take 1 second. Jai Guru Deva meaning. Because the devas are spirits, plant spirits, I'm pretty sure. The refrain Jai Guru Deva Om is a mantra intended to lull the mind into a higher consciousness. The words are in Sanskrit and they mean, I give thanks to Guru Dev, who is the teacher of Maharishi. So there's a lot there. Cool. So that's getting us, in a weird way, it's calming us down and saying, this is a dream. This is a dream. Like, take it less seriously. That doesn't mean you don't have attributes. To deny that would be deny the meaning of being. And to be, what the whole point of Buddhism and stuff, ultimately, and all these things is like to hold on loosely, right? We have a self that has value, and it has a value within a passion play of being, but taking it so seriously that we clobber others, that means we have ego issues, or we don't love them as ourselves and all this kind of jazz, right? We want to be knowing our differentiations and our own stats, but we want to be knowing it in context with the underlying truth that we are one, and that we if somebody over here is choosing to operate in certain polarity dynamics, I honor and I'm grateful for that, and I have compassion towards it as much as I want to be myself and in my embodiment with my characteristics, right? And that kind of one abiding truth, that higher consciousness, like the Om Guru Deva is trying to get you at it, is this higher consciousness. What is it? We're all one. It's all one collective dream, right? Release yourself from maybe over identification with the roles that you're playing in the dream, but that doesn't mean don't have any. So there's this kind of both and, right? Simultaneity. Release, but also engage, right? So use your talent like a weapon. in the sense, but you just don't try to hurt. When you do something to others, you're doing it to yourself ultimately. Know that. And when others do things to you, how do that's how we're not trying to protect our ego and stuff. It's like, how do we want the dream to evolve? That's our choice. And the more and more monkeys wake up, 100th monkey style, the more and more the dream gets more interesting. Protect your magic with labradite. So it's not about having no boundaries. It's about having boundaries, right? Have a stance, but don't always just use aggressive stances or only use passive stances, right? Guard stances. There's both and. That's the dance of creation, the masculine and feminine, the polarized reality that is. And this wasn't just about masculine. I mean, masculine and feminine is yin and yang, night and day, hot and cold, right? All these polarities. It's all part of one thing. The unity breaks. I mean, that circle is one circle, and then within it, there's a spectrum, right? That's the whole point. Release your ego, release your attachments, release what no longer serves you. Maybe you've identified with a player or a role, or like, oh, I'm Slytherin and I'm only Slytherin. It's like, maybe there's a time when Malfoy can be a little more Gryffindor, or maybe there's a time when Harry Potter has to be a little more Slytherin. The Sorting Hat almost chose him as Slytherin, lest we forget. So we have all of it in us. Release, hold on loosely, and let go of that which no longer serves us. You can't, in the Buddhist thing, it's like you cross the river, you don't take the boat with you, right? Like at some point, certain things lose their functional necessity. And we can hold onto the boat and just stand there on the shore and be like, I don't know where to go. That's problematic. It's all good, ultimately, but it's like, is that what you really want in the dream? Use your talent like a weapon. So be creative, be proactive, but in Virgo Sun, Virgo Moon conjunct, New Moon, Mercury in Libra, you want to be doing it in a discerning, practical, and helpful way, service-oriented way, diplomatic way. You can be passionate. Venus is in Leo. Mars is in Aries, so you can be fiery about it. But the point is, you want to be taking that spirit and that fire, that wand, and using it appropriately and not just clobbering other people with it because they are you. You're just in this weird dance for knowing more about the unity through a diversification of the portfolio. It's a weird trip we're on, but hey, we all signed up for this, so enjoy the ride. Release your inhibitions, release your stagnations, release your ego. Doesn't mean you have to obliterate it. You have embodiment. As soon as you release fully, you die, right? That's the whole point of that release. So take your talent and make it a weapon, as Artemisia did, right? She used her skills not only to further herself in that world, but also to stand up for her rights and her dignity in the court of law against her mentor, somebody who crossed a boundary, right? He's like, I'm your mentor. I'm going to rape you. It's like, oh my gosh. Aren't you glad that she kind of stood her ground? And in a weird way, the dream wanted to experience that at that point, so it did. But at the same time, she had to release her victimization and plow into a new spirit that was available to her. And everyone's got a different kind of alchemy. That's why you hit me up for a reading. I don't say that lightly. Use your talent like a weapon. So get out there and use what you got. As Freddie Mercury might say in Fat Bottom Girls, get on your bike and ride. It's like, do the thing, but do it consciously. Do it well. Do it in reciprocity with others and in gratitude and compassion, and not from just total self-absorption and delusion. Protect your magic. Artemisia protected her magic. Can you protect your magic and engage others with their magic without maybe taking it too seriously? Hopefully you guys get the picture. Leave a tip if you feel like it. I don't mind that. I'm on food stamps and could always use it. Don't have a job right now. This is the job. And share it if you like this. Share it. Subscribe. That'd be great. If I can hit 1,000 people on YouTube, I can go live on YouTube. So that'd be dope. Feel free to do that. And yeah, hopefully this was as helpful for you as it is for me. This is an out loud catharsis, and I think all parties involved, myself and y'all, benefit from it. So with that being said, check out the podcast too, because today and other podcasts, they're getting so ratchet and lit. They're great. It's good for you. Trust me. And you'll appreciate it. You won't regret having listened to a podcast. Methinks. So check out the Team Rabbit Hole podcast. All that plugging done aside, have a good day. Love yourself, love others, and engage the passion play well. Witness well. Adios.